Right, so hello, hi Eva, nice to have you with us. We've got Eva from Cosmo Switches, and she's going to do this week's Thursday 30 and introduce you to these lovely switches that you can see on the screen in front of you. So I'll hand straight over to you, Eva. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So yeah, it's good to be here, and thank you for introducing yourselves as well. And I can see that Karen sent in the chat that you've got the Cosmo switches in front of you, which is really great, so that you'll be able to see the activities that I show you. Awesome, and we can see the app on a big screen. That's really good. So yes, as I mentioned, I've got my experience goes way back in education, and what I do at Cosmo is I meet with teachers and teaching assistants and just help them use Cosmo in the best way possible for them. So following today's session as well, I would love to stay in touch with you individually and brainstorm some ideas on how you use Cosmo and how maybe we could give you some additional tips and ideas for implementing that in the classroom, both in group and individual setting. Just a little bit of background behind Cosmo. So CENMAC actually has been using Cosmo for many years. And Cosmo was initially designed as an accessible musical instrument, but Yorgos, who is not in the business full-time anymore, he's got background in music technology, and he wanted to create an accessible musical instrument for people with limited physical mobility. But then he started speaking with teachers, therapists, families, and just saw so much more potential, and that's how Cosmo expanded to support a lot of different areas of education and therapy. And I think what I would like to hear first from you is that, Karen, you mentioned that you have Cosmo switches in front of you. So if you could just tell us a little bit how you've been using it, I think that would be super great. And then others, if you have used Cosmo switches before as well, if you can just say yes or no, and just give us a couple of sentences how you've enjoyed it and your students enjoyed it, and maybe which are some of the games and activities that you've tried before. So I'm not sure, maybe Karen, you would like to, I know that you are unable to unmute yourself, but if
Karen is just typing something, I think Tracy is typing as well into the chat box there. I can see the little dots as they're typing away.
So we'll wait for it. And then we use them with the class and individual students, mainly the Firework app at the moment, which gets great reactions. That's awesome. And Tracy, I have never used them. I'm completely new to them. Okay, brilliant. So Fireworks activity, yes, that's a very popular one. It's a lot of sensory and auditory feedback, and I'll show it to you in just a few minutes. So what I would like to do first, I am going to show you a quick video which shows some of the main games and activities. And then I will show you a little bit in the app, how it works, how you can interact with switches, and maybe you can think of some ideas how you can use it with your students. So if you just bear with me, I am going to share my screen. And hopefully you will be able to see it well. I think so. Can you see the video?
Yes, that's come up, thank you.
Awesome. And I think there was some other question in the chat, but I cannot see the chat currently. So Mary, if you could just let me know.
Karen has said it would be useful if you could talk through how to connect them, because there's some people in the room that aren't sure, and sometimes they have trouble connecting all the switches at the same time.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we'll cover that. So I'm just going to go through the activities, and then we'll go into the app, and I will connect them again, and then we can talk about some of the issues that you've had as well, and I can advise you what to do. Right, I hope the the video, I know it's a little bit, can see it's a little bit blurry, but hopefully you can see what's happening on the screen. So in the Cosmo app, you will find a lot of different games and activities that aim to support cognitive, physical, and social development. And the way you do it is that you have a collection of 30 games. We recently added a couple of different games which you've got access to as well. And you push the buttons and they cause different reaction in the app. So we have some sports-based games, we have some music games, we've got some simple one-switch games, such as the firework, which Karen mentioned. And beginning with this activity is called improvisation. It's one of our oldest activities, where each of the buttons stores different musical notes. And as you press the buttons, you can trigger different musical notes. So you can experiment, you can either press the buttons and play the notes individually, or you can put a backing track as well, and you can play your favorite tunes on top of a music track. So this one is really good for musical improvisation, creativity, but also auditory and visual discrimination, joint attention, and other skills. You can use the Cosmo buttons with third-party music making software as well, such as GarageBand or ThumbJam for some more advanced music making activities.
Ένα, δύο. Θυμάσαι ποια ήτανε? Για να σε δω.
Memory game, as the name suggests, it's a memory game. It's called Copy Me. Currently, this is an old name, where you are presented with a pattern of lights, as you can see in the video here. And then when the lights go off, your task is to memorize that pattern and press the buttons in the correct order. You start with some easy patterns of one button lighting up, and you need to press that one button. And then you progress to more complex patterns of 2, 3, 4, 5 lights and so on. But you have different difficulty levels within the app, so you can start at the beginner level and then progress to intermediate and advanced.
But where was Giant?
Where's the giant?
Okay, can you press now?
Where was the giant?
Right, so this is actually Charlton Park Academy. And it's the storytelling activity, which is one of our most popular activities of all times, where you can perform sensory stories by touching the Cosmoids and being able to hear some sounds that appear in the story. So basically, when you press each individual Cosmoid, it will play some sounds. So if you have a story about going into the city, you will be able to hear sounds of people talking or cars moving, or you will be able to hear some sounds of nature, which will be individual for each story. So it's a very nice, either individual activity or a teamwork activity, where each of the students will have one Cosmo switch in front of them, and when they light up, they indicate it's their turn to press the button. So it's it helps you incorporate a lot of different skills, such as waiting, taking turns, but also joint attention.
Find orange. Orange. Ready?
One,
Steady.
2, 3.
Yay!
Color matching. In color matching, your task is to identify 2 Cosmo switches that light up in the same color, and then press them either at the same time or just one by one. But the main task is to find 2 of the matching color. And you can play this activity individually, but you can also play it in a couple. And if you play it in a couple, it's all about looking for the 2 Cosmoids together. If you want to press them simultaneously, you can count down or count up 3, 2, 1, and then let's press. So it's very much about maintaining eye contact and communication in this scenario as well.
Okay, give me 5. Yeah!
My Orchestra is a very simple activity and very good for teamwork, but you can play this one individually as well. In this activity, each of the button buttons stores different musical instrument, the sound of a different musical instrument. And then as you press the buttons one by one, you will toggle those instruments on and off. So when the button is lit up, you will be able to hear a lot of different instruments. And when the button's light is off, it means that there is no instrument playing. So you can choose among a couple of different tracks here. So you can choose you can play some classical music, rock music, funky, acoustic. And for each of those tracks, the buttons will play different musical instruments. So in this scenario here, the boy in the bottom right corner, he's being the musical conductor, and he's indicating to his peers which buttons to press to start playing and which of the buttons to press to stop playing the music. Turn taking is all about developing attention skills and concentration. In this activity, you can hear a music track play, and then the music track pauses for however much time you choose. And then a button lights up indicating that you have to press the button to keep the music going. So you can have each of the students having one button, and when the button lights up, they will need to press the button to keep the music going. So basically, the faster you press the button, the more uninterrupted music track will be. Some video games in the Cosmo training app. A lot of the games you can play without having to look at the screen. So you just interact with buttons and peers. So you can set up an activity, put an iPad back in a cupboard, and just play with the buttons. But we do have some some screen-based games, such as Tap Dash, where your task is to match the color of the long block that's at the bottom of the screen with the block that's falling down. And this activity, similarly to the memory game, gets progressively more difficult as you go on in the game. Showdown is very fun activity. It's fast-paced. It's quite a competitive game. Which can be played from 2 to 6 players. Each of the team is being assigned a different color of the switches, and they'll have specific amount of time. So they will have 1 minute up to 5 minutes to move around to press the Cosmoids that light up in their team's color. And then you basically collect points, and the team that collects most points wins. As you can see here, you can mount the Cosmoids to the wall with magnets as well. So you will have magnets in the boxes. Each of the devices, if you can see on my screen, each of the devices has a magnet inbuilt in the device, and we provide magnets in the boxes. So you can put one magnet on the wall and then put the Cosmoids on the wall as well. So you can encourage different types of movement. So you'll be able to use squishy balls, you'll be able to jump. But you can also mount the Cosmoids to different surfaces. So magnets is one way to mount them, but you can also mount them with screws to mounting plates to enable students with limited mobility to participate in the same activities, or you can just use Velcro tape. And a lot of our users stick Cosmoids with Velcro tape to like a blackboard. So for example, 1, 2, or 3 switches stick to the blackboard and have them in front of students. And the black background makes the light stand out a little bit more as well, which is good for some additional visual feedback. And the last activity in this video, My Voice, where you can record a word or a short phrases with the iPad speaker. And then as you press the buttons one by one, they will play that word or a phrase back with an overlay of funky voice effects. So you can record hello or your name or something else, and then you press one button and it will play it back with a chipmunk voice effect, and then the other button, it will play it back with some robots or a ghostly voice effect, which is really good for speech and language development, but also just for like encouraging students to vocalize and speak out loud with a fun twist to it. And I'm going to stop sharing this screen for now. And I'm just going to go to the Cosmo app because you mentioned that some of your colleagues struggle to connect them. So I'm just going to show you how to turn them on and turn them off. So there's this small blue button at the bottom of the device. To turn it off, you just press the button for 2 seconds and they turn off. So you can see now that I have no Cosmoids attached, connected to my iPad. So if you want to see if there are any Cosmoids connected to your iPad, you can go to the settings wheel in the top left corner and go to advanced settings, which is here, this setting here. So now you can see that all the icons are gray. So I don't have any Cosmo switches connected to my iPad. So what I will do is that I'm going to press the blue button until my Cosmoid lights up in white. And you can see now that it's connecting automatically to the app. And then I'm going to do the same with this one. And it will connect to my iPad as well. And then if I wanted to connect those Cosmoids to a different iPad, what I would need to do is that I would need to click this green button in the bottom right corner, which says unlink from iPad. And what I would be able to do right now is that I would be able to connect those Cosmo switches to a different device. And if I want to use only those two with only this iPad that I have here in front of me, I can link them to my iPad. So if you have, for example, well, let's say you have two classrooms. One classroom has one iPad and a set of 6, and then the other classroom has an iPad and a set of 6. If you know that you will be using one set of 6 Cosmo switches with this specific iPad, you can link them to the iPad, and then they will not connect to the other iPad, which might be behind the wall in a different classroom. And I hope that helps. It's a little bit different if you want to connect Cosmo to a third-party device. So for example, if you would like to connect it with AAC software, but I'm not sure we'll have time for that today, Karen. So if you would like to have a separate call, or we can have a follow-up call, and I will show you how to do it. So I'm just mindful that we have a few minutes left. So as you could see in the video, in the Cosmo training app, you'll have lots of different games and activities. So the one that Karen mentioned is Fireworks. So I'm just going to show you this one. Fireworks is one switch game where you can shoot fireworks in the air, and it's very sensory, it's very nice. So I'm going to tap sound on so that we'll be able to hear the sound of the fireworks. You can change the color of your Cosmoid here. And when I press play and press the button, you'll be able to hear and see fireworks in the air. And then if you go in again, you'll have some different backgrounds. In terms of other one-switch games, Toggle, for example, where you can, where you can toggle music and then press again to turn it off. A recent activity we released is Bubbles, where what you can do in this activity is that you can pop bubbles. So I'm not sure if you're able to hear that popping sound. Not sure if Teams allows you to do that, but you can count down and then you can count up. You can change the number of bubbles that you have here, so you can go up to 20. You can have sound on or sound off. You can have single color background as well, if you think that like a fancy background might be a little bit too distracting. Or you can have many colored bubbles, or you can have single colored bubbles as well. So it's a very nice and relaxing activity. We'll have some sports games here as well. So for example, exercise. Your task will be to press the button that lights up. So you will be able to either have the Cosmoids on the table in front of a student, or you will be able to have them around as well. You can stick them to the wall, as you were able to see in the video. You can choose how many Cosmo switches you want to play with. So this activity requires you to have 2 at least, but then you can expand to 3, 4, 5, and 6. So if I had six Cosmo switches connected here, I would be able to use 6, but for now I can only use 2. Storytelling activity, which you were able to see in the video as well, where you can choose different stories here. And then when you press play, you can read through the story about a very busy day. And then as you read through the story, buttons will light up in different colors. And when I press the button, you were able to hear some sounds of people talking. And the app is free on iPad, so you can just download it and explore it on your devices. I would like to show you one last video, how Cosmo can be used with online game for accessible gaming, and it will be able to be used in the same way with AAC software. So just one quick share, and then we will move to questions.
車を運転、ゲーム、コスモで運転をしてます。そしてサッカーをしてます。
お、なんてゲームですか？あ、ロケリーかな？
ロケットリーグです。
はいはいはい。アクセルどうしてるんですか？
アクセルは右足元に。
何？あ、なるほどね。はい。これちょっと進んでください。はい。アクセルいいよ。お。
So I think you get the gist. You can customize the switches to perform different functions if you want to play some online games or navigate through your AAC. So in this scenario, you have accelerate and brake, which you can use with your both feet. And then you have 3 buttons on the table, which is move left, right, and the blue one, I'm not exactly sure what it's doing. But each of the buttons will allow you to do something else. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. And I think I'll pause here and take the questions. I'm aware that the video might have been a little bit wobbly, but I think it's just Teams settings. So yeah, if you have any questions now, please let me know either out loud or in the chat. And if not, I'm going to pop my email address in the chat as well. If you ever have any questions, sorry, the lights just went off in my room. If you ever have any questions or like troubles with connecting your switches, then let me know. And I'm just going to share my screen again with a QR code to our resources. So this is a Linktree link, but so you can scan it, or I can send the link to you as well in the chat in a bit. And it has linked to our newsletter where we share some ideas around Cosmo, and link to our social media profiles, with Instagram, I think, being the most active. So you'll be able to see videos and pictures from our other users and other schools, which might come in handy and be useful for you.
Brilliant. We've just got someone, Sinead, in the chat who's typing a message at the moment. And Karen says that's really helpful. Thank you. Karen, did you have any other questions or comments?
Oh, she's got no camera on.
Oh, yeah.
Karen, I'll pop over and see if I can see what's wrong with the one switch.
So Sinead's question was just about wanting to know what the Cosmo switches are made of, what they're made from.
The Cosmo switches are made of plastic, but it's quite, sorry, I don't know why there is no light in my room. They are made of plastic used in fighter jet cockpits. So they are very durable and very tough. So, so they're quite light. They're quite nice in touch.
I think they're really sensory, like the students love them when they glow. They've got a really nice kind of feel to them. Yeah. Sinead's an OT, so yeah.
No, it's really good to hear. Yeah, they are quite smooth, but it's a very hard plastic. So I'm just going to go to the app again. So I hope you'll be able to see that. If you go to advanced settings, you'll be able to change the sensitivity of your switch. So I hope you can see that the force value, so the small number that is changing at the top of the screen. So you can see how I'm using, like 2 fingers or even 1 finger, and that will be enough to play the games. But then you can decrease the responsiveness to, for example, 48%. It's now. So you'll be able to see that if I just tap, that's not enough anymore. So I'll have to use a little bit more strength to activate the response of the switch. And you can do that individually for different buttons. So for each individual student.
Brilliant, thank you. Any more questions from anyone?
I'm just going to pop that link. Sorry. Yeah. Chat, because I'm not sure actually how the QR code was visible for scan.
Okay, so I don't think there are any more questions coming up. So I'll just say a big thank you, Eva. That was a really good presentation. And as you've mentioned, everyone has your contact details so they can get in touch with you anytime. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you?